Okay friends, let's get started by raising the rear of the vehicle up off the ground so we can start removing the wheel. Let's use a 19mm socket, remove all these lug nuts. Now that that's off of there, let's continue with a small pry bar. We're going to carefully get in between this area here and gently pry. That's going to push in that caliper piston for us. Now let's move along to removing this slider right down here. Use my 14mm socket. Okay, now that we have that out of there, we're going to continue on to removing this caliper bracket bolt right here, and then you're going to find another one located up top. Use your 14mm to remove them both. There's that first one. Now we can grab that caliper, we're going to remove it and set it off to the side. Remove your rotor. Now that we have that off, let's inspect our emergency brake shoes. You want to make sure you have at least 230 seconds worth of meat on each of these shoes. After that, go ahead and clean down the shoe surface area there, and then we also want to clean down the mating surface of the wheel bearing. Once you have everything inspected, cleaned, next thing we want to do is just apply a little bit of copper never seized to the mating surface of the bearing. Now let's start taking apart our caliper. We're going to swing that bracket to the side. Slip it right off of there. We'll set that aside for a second. Now we can remove this pad right here. You're going to find that you have two tabs that hold it to the caliper. Generally, you can just kind of squeeze it like this and then slide it right off of there. If you have a hard time, you could also use a screwdriver to pry it off. Now we can start disassembling the bracket. You're going to find your inboard pad. Now we can take our tins off of here. Let's go ahead and pop that off. We'll do the same for this one. Grab onto your boots, pop that off. Same here. After you have them off, just kind of squish them around a little bit. You want to make sure they're still soft and pliable and they're not torn or worn in any way. Check them both, and then we're going to stick a rag inside there and clean out any of the existing grease that's in there. Stick that right through. Okay. Spread the boot. Start rubbing it around like this. Get off all that grease. All right, that looks good. We'll do the same to the other one. Now that we have the bracket stripped down, we're going to continue cleaning it. I'm going to use my brush, try to get in between this area right where the tin was there, and the same on the other side. Okay, I've got them both clean. The next thing we want to do is clean out the areas where those sliders are going to be. Now we're going to use some caliper grease, come right inside this area here. Grab our brand new tins, just line it up with where it needs to go and slide it in. Okay, do the same on the other side. Now that we have both those tins on there, let's take some more of that caliper grease. I'm just going to put a little bit inside this slider hole here, and then I also want to get around the outs, and then I also want to get along the outside edge right there. Do the same on both holes. Now we can take our slider boots, put it right up on there, give it a nice twist, make sure it's on there well. This one. Now we're going to move along to cleaning our slider pins. You can see on this one it has a lot of debris on it. I want to make sure that I clean it up. Sometimes just using a rag isn't going to be enough. You might have to use a wire wheel of some sort. Once we get that one clean, we're also going to clean up the other slider as well. Now let's coat our caliper pins with some of this grease right here. Do the same to the other one. Once you have the other pin done, let's continue on with some more of that caliper grease. We're going to come along each of these ears right here, and then along the metal aspect of the piston right here. This is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction. Now it's time to put our outer pad on there. That's the one with the two little hooky-doos on it. We're going to go ahead and set it just like this, and you can see that it has a couple little pitons, one right there, one right there. They're going to fit into the ears of the caliper itself as we slide it down. Give it a light bonk. You want to make sure that the pads sit in completely parallel or flush up against the caliper itself. That looks great. Slide this together. There we are. Now let's grab our inboard pad. We'll take that pad, we're going to slide it right into the bracket. You're going to notice that it's going to want to slide out of there, so you just kind of want to get it set in perfectly. We'll slide it right down. Then we're going to push that pad all the way up against the piston right like that. Grab your other slider. Just slide it in here. Start that in. Now we can bring this over and into position. Right over that rotor. Now we can start both of these bolts in here. Once we have them both started, we'll snug everything up and then we can torque it to manufacturer's specifications. Now that we have all three of those snugged up, let's go ahead and torque the bracket bolts to 52 foot-pounds. Now we'll do the slider to 32 foot-pounds. Okay, so we got it all back together. The next thing that we want to do is come to our original rotor. You're going to find a rubber plug in here. Just go ahead and force it right out of there. Before you go ahead and insert it into the new rotor, it's a good idea to adjust up your emergency brake. There's a procedure for that, but essentially if you just come through here with a flathead screwdriver, you're going to find the turn knob. You just go ahead and adjust that until it's perfect. After that, take your rubber plug, we'll stick it right in here. Let's get our wheel up on here. Start on all of your lug nuts, then we'll bottom them out. Once they're bottomed out, we'll get the wheel on the ground, and then we'll torque them all to 100 foot-pounds. Torqued. What's left to do now? You're going to do the same exact thing on the passenger side. After that, go ahead and pump up your brake pedal so it's nice and firm. Get underneath your hood, double check your master cylinder. You want to make sure the brake fluid's full, shut the hood, and then take it for a road test.